You're about to witness an underwater drama that is quite simply mind-blowing. A face-to-face encounter with a 4.5 metre wild crocodile. There are no cages here, no guns, no tranquilizers. Just one brave diver and a giant prehistoric man-eater. Dangerous? Absolutely. But this isn't some kind of extreme sport. This is scientific research in the scariest laboratory on Earth. You're watching an underwater meeting of the most extraordinary kind. Man coming face to face with a very alive, very aware crocodile.
There's no doubt your brain suddenly starts to think, Adam, what's going on here? We're in the water with a wild crocodile.
Australian zoologist Dr. Adam Britton is studying crocs in a way that no one ever thought possible.
Your entire body is telling you that there's something wrong with this situation. Get out now.
Because when things do go wrong, it can be deadly.
I suppose it's always possible that a crocodile in a situation like this might suddenly figure out that perhaps we might be worth tasting to see whether we're worth chewing on.
And for those who say that you're crazy and that this is madness, what's your answer?
I think anyone who thinks that I'm crazy, maybe they're right. But at the end of the day, well, I don't know.
The setting for this crazy tango between man and one of the world's most vicious predators is the Okavango Delta in Botswana, home to the Nile crocodile. Wow, what a ride, huh? It is also home for wildlife documentary makers Brad and Andy Besterly.
Nice to meet you. This is beautiful.
Yeah, welcome to Namaste.
Brad grew up here, and he and his wife Andy have been diving in the delta for years, but always studiously avoiding the local crocodiles.
The first time we saw a crocodile underwater was totally by mistake. It found us. We didn't go looking for it. It just came out of a cave that we didn't even know was a cave. It was just a sort of dark area, and it just came out terrified in between Brad and I. And we both, this big crocodile just swam right in between us and settled on the sand next to us. And that was the first time we saw one.
So there's a croc lying there facing away from us, and we're sitting there watching it, and it's like, well,
what do we do?
Now what do we do, And he just lay there, and he said, well, let's go have a look. So he swam.
Really?
Yeah.
You thought, let's go and have a look?
Yeah.
Brad and Andy had stumbled upon an extraordinary discovery, that the ferocious crocodile could be a totally different creature when underwater.
There are a number of things that have really changed our perception of crocodiles. We didn't realise that they were so timid underwater. Definitely didn't realise that by nature they're actually quite timid.
And that they're not these mindless killing machines.
This reptilian revelation is thanks to the unique conditions in the Okavango. The world's largest inland delta is stinking hot in summer, but come winter, an icy chill arrives, dramatically slowing the metabolism of these cold-blooded killers.
Diving with crocodiles essentially couldn't have happened anywhere else in the world that I know of. It's the one place where the temperatures actually drop right down to a point where the animal virtually shuts down.
So they're not so hungry?
They're not so hungry, so they're very slow, they're very sluggish.
For Darwin-based researcher Adam Britton, the prospect of actually diving with crocs was an unbelievable breakthrough. So when Brad and Andy invited him to Botswana, he jumped at the chance, albeit with a healthy dose of apprehension.
I have to admit, when I was first putting on my gear, my scuba gear, and putting on the tank, that very first time when I was in the boat, my heart was in my mouth. Because you think, what if these guys are wrong? Or what if the chances of this going wrong are sufficiently high that I'm going to be the guy that actually has the unpleasant encounter?
In freezing winter temperatures, we head out to witness this unbelievable business of diving with crocs. But first, we have to find them.
And it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, you know, when he goes in, it's a real challenge to find him, you know.
So, what are you looking for as we go? I mean, any place here looks to me like it could have a croc.
One of the rules we've got with the diving is that you definitely have to see the animal on the bank. So I'm looking for ones that are basking, trying to get warm.
We find one.
That's a dentist's delight right there.
And this is when things get really tricky. When we approach, it disappears. Tension on board begins to build.
Yep. You've got to just stick together, hey?
Yep.
That's the most important thing.
I've given us a long lead up, so we can settle. If there's a problem, we can still have time to get out,
This is quite a critical time, the time between spotting a croc and getting into the water. Brad estimates that he has something like 6 minutes before a croc starts to view he and his team as prey.
They can see, they can hear, they can feel vibrations. They've got a good sense of taste, obviously smell when they're on the surface as well. They're kind of bite first, ask questions later kind of animals.
But when man and crocodile come face to face, it is an extraordinary moment.
Who do they think you are down there?
We could be a large fish that's too large for them to catch. We could be a hippo that they want to stay well away from. There could be another crocodile. There could be a log drifting down the river. I mean, you know, it's not necessarily something that's going to be a threat to them. And they don't see it as food because it's not the kind of situation that they would normally associate with feeding.
Since their first encounter 5 years ago, Brad and Andy have dived hundreds of times without so much as a scratch. Although there have been some heart-stopping moments.
Crocs have swam into us.
Swum into
us, yeah. I've had them swim straight into the port. We've had them swim literally chest and disappear underneath you.
I don't underestimate them at all. I think these crocs that we're diving on year after year are observing us. And one day they're going to turn around and say, okay, now I'm onto you. It does make me a little bit weary.
It's actually quite funny that the easier ones to interact with are actually the bigger ones because they're less threatened by whatever's in the water. They're just bigger, they're more complacent.
Did you ever think you'd be cuddling up to a croc underwater?
No, it's a weird thing, you know, to see that side of them is just totally different.
There is another way to get close to Botswana's crocs at night. When, believe it or not, they're more easily spotted.
That call means help. Help, I'm being attacked, and other adults will come in and rescue whatever's attacking the baby croc.
Really?
There's a distinct possibility as well that the adult female and possibly the male responsible for this guy is still hanging around here.
Adam's conducting a 3-year genetic study, which means he needs to examine as many Nile crocodiles as possible, and in some very intimate ways. I am not sexing a crocodile, I'm here to tell you. Traditionally, this is how tissue samples have been taken. Hard enough when it's a baby, next to impossible when it's a fully grown monster. But now Adam believes he can do what no one thought possible. Take DNA from the big crocs underwater.
The first time I got close enough to the tail of a crocodile, I thought, well, let's just try picking up the tail. And the crocodile was completely oblivious to this. And that was what gave me the thought. I thought, well, if I can pick up the tail, I can take a tissue sample from one of the scoots on the end. It won't hurt the crocodile because it's essentially dead skin. It won't feel it. I should be able to get away with it. So that was the mission this time.
You'll be able to cut its toenails next.
Yeah, you probably can.
So the mission begins.
Have you checked how sharp their scissors are? Are they quite sharp? Have you tried cutting some?
Oh, they're very sharp.
Are they very sharp?
Well, the sharper it is, the less the croc's going to feel it.
The team spots a croc that could be Adam's first patient.
Just stay there. Stay right here, it's fine, eh?
It is an astonishing sight. A scientist stalking his 4.5 metre prey. He pulls out his tweezers and scissors and misses.
And I just got into position. I was just about to snip the tail and the croc moved off.
Adam tries again, and in what is an amazing feat, snips the first sample ever taken from a crocodile underwater.
Oh, we did it.
No, it was amazing.
We did it big time.
Again, yeah, no, big croc.
Oh, wow.
Nice croc. I mean, that guy must be 4 meters.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was
Fantastic. Oh, he was absolutely stunningly beautiful. This massive, massive crocodile picking up the tip of his tail. I was like, okay, moment of truth.
Oh my God.
Snip, and he felt it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that you're doing this.
No capturing, no torturing, no rolling around.
You're shaking hands with a croc underwater. Let's have a squeeze.
Make sure I don't drop it. I'm shaking because it's so cold down there.
Ooh,
There's a tissue sample from a 4-metre Nile crocodile.
Look at that.
It's incredible.
Weren't you just a little bit terrified?
No, absolutely not. I was just blown away. Not the kind of thing you're going to forget anytime soon.
1, 2, 3, go!
Now, if you're wondering, no, I'm not a diver. And I think you've got to be mad to dive with crocs. And if you are a diver and thinking you'd like a slice of this action, well, forget it. Croc dive tourism is not on Brad and Andy's agenda.
I think the intention's different. I think if you made it into a tourism thing, the reason for doing it is wrong. And that can get you into some big problems.
Well, that might be when the croc wins.
Exactly. Yeah. That's when you will have problems.
This is risk management in the extreme. With 2 young kids, Brad and Andy are forever calculating the odds. And for Adam Britton, the benefits to his research outweigh the potential threat to his life.
What's interesting about diving with crocodiles is people's reaction to it. I mean, most people think that's crazy, that's totally insane. But when you're trying to study an animal, you have to go into the environment, you have to look at it from the perspective that that animal lives in. I mean, the reason that I'm doing it is because I am convinced, knowing what I know about crocodiles and knowing what I know about everything that we do here, that we can get away with it.
Positive thinking.
And get away with it is what Brad and Andy hope to do for a long time to come. If either of you were to be taken by a crocodile, would we be right in thinking it was inevitable?
I think a lot of people think so. Maybe it's a matter of time. Maybe we're just going to come across that personality, that particular psycho croc on that day. So you do question it, but you've got to go by your own judgment. To an extent, you follow your heart. And we are not cavalier, as I said, with our lives.
But we have written wills.
I'm glad to hear it.